Hello, so if you're watching this video, I assume it's because of the title, Pituitary, macroadenoma, Pituitary apoplexy, and acromegaly. Um, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, and so I'm just gonna try and explain how I got my diagnosis so that you know how I figured out that I had all of this, and then tell you kind of the symptoms that I had that in hindsight are now all related to the tumor. And then depending on how much time we have, either in another video or this video, I'll talk about the surgery and recovery because I had the transfemoral surgery about 3 weeks ago now, and um, and everything's going really well. But I really wanted to make this video because the first thing I did when I found out that I had acromegaly and that I had this tumor was look up YouTube videos to see if anyone else had this and what exactly to expect, and um, you know, what the future was going to potentially be like. So this video is not edited whatsoever. I just really wanted to get a video out as close as possible to everything happening, finding out that I had this, getting the surgery, etc. Just because, like I said, the videos that I watched of people who had this surgery and have this disease disorder were quite helpful to me, and so I thought I would just jump in here and let you know what it is that I have and what the surgery or options are like if you, for some reason, don't have the surgery. So, starting at, I guess, the beginning in terms of how I got the diagnosis. So it's 2023. No, sorry, it's 2024 now. In 2023, October 2023, I got COVID for the first time. I had been quite lucky about avoiding getting COVID for the past few years because I avoided all humans at all cost, and had two babies, one in 2020 and one in 2022. And so I've been lucky enough to be on maternity leave for most of that period. So I just basically stayed away from everybody. I was very concerned that if I got COVID, that it would be very, very bad for me because my health, which I'll get to in a second, had generally been so bad for so long that I was really worried that COVID would kind of be like the final straw. Turns out it kind of was. So I got COVID at the beginning of October 2023. And after I had that for what was a very awful 2 weeks, I couldn't get out of bed. I had a terrible sinusitis infection, um, constant headache, which was normal for me. And the fatigue was so bad, I couldn't function. And I have two babies and I had to function. So once I had finally tested negative to COVID about 14 or so days after getting it, I then had what I would call at the time sensation of like an explosion in my head. So the explosion, it kind of felt like if you have migraines, the pain of a migraine, but very, very sudden. So it didn't build like a migraine, it just came out of nowhere, like an explosion in my head. I felt it, and it was very, very terrible for about 30 seconds to maybe a minute, but then it went away. And so, because I've had such terrible headaches and migraines for as long as I can remember, I remember thinking, well, that was really terrible, because in the moment I was thinking, oh my goodness, I think I need an ambulance, because it felt like something very awful was happening. That turned out to be a pituitary apoplexy. So that is when your tumor, the macroadenoma, pituitary macroadenoma, which I found out later is what it was, it's when it hemorrhages. So the sensation I felt was the tumor hemorrhaging. So I, again, because I thought the pain was not that bad since it went away, I just wandered around for a couple weeks, but the pressure in my head just wouldn't go away, and regular ibuprofen or Advil wasn't doing anything. So I just happened to go to the doctor to find out if there's something stronger I could take to relieve the pressure in my head. She sent me for an MRI, and then the MRI revealed that I had a 1.8 centimeter pituitary macroadenoma, so right between the optic nerve and my pituitary gland at the base of my brainstem. So it's squashed right in there. And at first they said that because they couldn't necessarily tell if it was compressing the pituitary gland, it was just touching it, and whether or not it was causing problems with my hormones. They originally said, oh, maybe we'll just watch this space because your blood work looks kind of normal. The reason they say kind of normal is because everything looks fine for my blood work except for my IGF-1. So IGF-1, and all this I've just learned over the past 90 days because I'm filming this in February. So this all just happened very, very quickly. So like I said, COVID and the pituitary apoplexy October. November was my MRI. December, they discovered through continuing tests that I had acromegaly. So if you're like me and have no idea what acromegaly is, I had no idea either. But basically, pretty much every symptom I've had over the past decade, possibly 2 decades, are attributed to this tumor. I can say it for certain now because I've had the surgery, like I said, about 3 weeks ago, and all my symptoms are pretty much gone, which is amazing. So I'll go through as quick as I can the kind of symptoms I have that turned out all to be related to the acromegaly. So one of them is enlarged feet or hands or nose or tongue, and I had all of them. So my feet, they were bigger, like nearly 2 sizes bigger, and everyone said it was just because of pregnancy, and some people's feet, they just grow following babies, and so that I had mentioned that to my GP, and I said I'd had to get my rings resized because my hands were so much bigger. And they said, some people's hands swell up postpartum, and that's just normal. They also said that it's supposed to go back down. Mine never did. And so I definitely noticed those two for sure. My tongue, I hilariously have noticed for like at least a decade, because my husband used to tease me about it because I'd sometimes hang out. The things, in hindsight, hey, I'd sometimes hang out with my tongue like this, and he'd ask me why, and I would always say that it was because my jaw felt like it was too small and there wasn't enough space in my mouth for my tongue. And we kept thinking that I just kept having like an allergic reaction or something and my tongue was swollen or something, but we never really knew what it was. Obviously, we had no reason to think that it was, attached to any of my symptoms. And so I had never mentioned that to anyone because it was so strange of a problem. And then my nose, it is larger than it normally is right now. So this is not my normal nose because I'm post-surgery, and they have to put a contraption of some sort in your nose. So this is very much, my nose is probably about this, but prior to the surgery, it did look like this. Luckily, the swelling of my nose has gone down, and once I get this out in a couple weeks, I'll probably go back to a normal sized nose. But yeah, I did feel like my nose was suddenly way bigger, and that was evidently not my imagination. So enlarged nose, tongue, hands, feet. So I had all of those, and like I said, this has been happening over a series of years since my tumor is 1.8 centimeters. The tumor typically apparently grows 1 to 3 centimeters per year. So I'm 36 years old. So if it was only growing 1 centimeter per year, I've potentially had this for 18 years. So basically my entire adult life. And my entire adult life is how long I've been experiencing the symptoms. One of the other symptoms I had is just everywhere I have a joint, and everywhere. My hands, my feet, my knees, my shoulders, everywhere just hurts all the time. And so I was told that it was rheumatoid arthritis, but none of the inflammation medication worked for me, anti-inflammatories. I was told that I potentially had ankylosing spondylitis, and that was a diagnosis I've been wandering around for the past half decade, but none of those meds worked on me. So they think that was an incorrect diagnosis now, but basically, I've been living with nonstop headaches. So I was taking like 6 Advils a day, which my rheumatologist knew, and they just attributed it to the arthritis and the ankylosing spondylitis, which again, they don't think I have now. So unbelievable joint pain, headaches, enlarged, bones, hands, feet, nose, etc. But then in the past couple years, again, postpartum, so a lot of these things I would complain about, and then the doctors would say it was just, hormones changing postpartum. I'd had like all of a sudden breakouts all over my face, which hasn't happened since I was a teenager, and excessive sweating. Like, I mean, like soaking through shirts in the middle of winter, constantly, daily. Crazy hair growth. I had laser hair removal and been lucky enough to be hair free for the past like decade, but then all of a sudden over the past few years, all the hair started growing back and like really quickly, which, you sometimes need top up of laser hair removal, but not like that. And so that was another thing that was very bizarre. And then like unbelievable sinusitis pain, like my face just hurt all the time. And then my fatigue was unbelievable. Like, I had to stop doing everything. I had to stop carrying groceries. I had to not pick up my kids because if I did that for more than a few minutes, I'd have unbelievable pain in my spine, in my neck, in my shoulders. And so all those things were happening, and I just generally felt unwell all the time. And so if I got sick, like caught a common cold, like daycare germs from the kids, things like that, like I would just be completely wrecked, and was told that I needed more sleep. But I was getting, I have excellent, kids that sleep all through the night. So I was getting like 12 hours of sleep a night, and then napping during their nap time. So like 15 hours of sleep altogether. So it was just unbelievable. The fatigue was crippling. I was waking up each day like I was, having to wander underwater and judge through. Like it was quite bad. But long story short, I can tell you that my endocrinologist took one look at me. Oh, another thing I had is if any of you have carpal tunnel, I've had this carpal tunnel problem from like elbow pain all the way up here to my thumb for like 2 decades. It just never goes away. It hurts all the time. So that was another one. And basically, I've had the surgery, and spoiler alert, it's immediate positive change. The day of the surgery, when I came out, you'd expect to be, in tons of pain or not feeling great. For me, from the surgery, right from the get-go, I've felt fantastic. There's, a bunch of other things involved in that, and I'll get into that, but seeing how long this video is already, I'll stop it there. But like I said, one of the first things I did when I found out that I had a pituitary apoplexy, pituitary macroadenoma, that I needed transfemoidal surgery, that they believed that I had acromegaly, and that there was all these, things going on that could be damage to my pituitary gland, could be something being secreted by the tumor, etc. There's all these, complications or abundance of information being thrown at me. And the first thing I did was Google wildly and check out YouTube videos of people who have this or who had had the surgery, so I knew what to expect. And so I thought I would just jump on here and make a video myself, because I feel better when I'm informed, and I feel better knowing that someone out there gets what it feels like to have this, because apparently acromegaly takes, on average 7+ years for a diagnosis, because the symptoms are just so vague. Like, I mean, a lot of us just say we're in pain everywhere all the time. We get headaches, we feel unwell, various hormones might feel wonky, we're tired. Like they're just so vague that, you know, literally nothing to me pointed to a brain tumor. I never would have guessed that. And it's something I'm actually been quite hyper vigilant about for other reasons. Um, and I never thought, I never thought tumor. So, um, if you are looking for answers in your health journey, maybe an MRI of your brain might be something to look into. But like I said, that has been my journey of getting my diagnosis. I'm quite lucky, I guess, that I got COVID and that I had that apoplexy. Because had I not had that, I've been getting tests all of 2023 trying to figure out what was wrong with me, because I was adamant that there was something causing my extreme fatigue, something causing me to feel so unwell and in so much pain 24/7. My sleeping, like, you know, was not doing anything. And it was just getting to the point where I was utterly convinced that even though all my tests came back normal, which obviously was becoming quite triggering, that there was something wrong, and obviously there was. So because this video is so long, and I'm not going to edit this because I am trying very hard to relax and just do nothing. I'm just going to post this as is. Hopefully it's helpful to someone. Comment down below if there's any questions you have about acromegaly or pituitary macroadenoma. I'll answer, obviously, based on my own perspective. I'm not a medical person. I don't know anything other than what I've Googled myself or experienced myself. But I will do a second video outlining essentially the recovery process for the transfemoral surgery, because I did have that 3 weeks ago. And so here's to hope for you for your medical journey with this, and feeling pretty good compared to the past decades. So here's hoping onwards and upwards from here. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Hope that this was helpful. Bye.